When I was little, about to start school as a kindergartner, I remember the excitement and anticipation that came with the first day of school. I remember feeling a mix of different emotions, the excitement and anticipation of going to a new place, of making new friends, and finally getting to do that thing called school that I always saw older kids doing on TV. And I also felt nervous and unsteady, wondering if I'd be able to make any new friends on that first day, wondering if the other kids would be nice to me, feeling nervous, wondering if I was even ready to go to school. After all, only big kids go to school. The first day of school always felt like this new threshold moment, the beginning of something new and emergent, beyond what I could even wrap my mind around. And every first day of school since then, I was met with that same spark of mystery and wonder, that seed of uncertainty and nervousness for the future of what was to come. Now, I've had a lot of first day of school, in my time, as I'm sure you can imagine. And while I wasn't in school all that terribly long ago, starting as your minister here at UUCGT feels similarly to that feeling of anticipation and excitement of the unknown before us. In many ways, it is like a first day of school, with all of the growing and learning that's involved in joining your special community and discovering just how things are done. Learning new names, new faces, and stories, seeing which committee does what and which way and how. Though something feels different about this first Sunday with you, aside from my not being in the classroom this morning. Deep within myself, at the depths of who I know myself to be as a minister and as a human being, I feel called to be with you all here and now. I feel called to be your minister, to travel with your community on this journey of shared ministry at the start of this great big beginning together. Now, while I admit there are times that I feel nervous, I feel confident in who you have called me to be, as well as who I am calling you to be for this community and for our wider world. There is a power that I feel at work between us, a power of this new start, of a fresh beginning, and of the hope that we might do some great things together. And I feel the beginnings of our pastoral relationship as I learn from each of you what you believe and value, the gems of wisdom and the precious pearls of life's story that you are beginning to share with me. I've said it before, but I feel so honored to be called as your next settled minister and to be here with you all now on this first of many Sundays together. The path to get to this point has taken so much work. Not only the hard work of your ministerial search team, but also the hard work of living together and loving one another in community, even when this has sometimes been hard to do. Like any community story, there have been pain and hardships that you have shared with one another. There have been trying moments and moments of deep sorrow and unsettling, moments that have caused you to grow in your strength together and your deep love for one another and for this congregation. Though, as you already know, your story doesn't stop at the hard parts. Your story also holds moments of great joy and pride, moments of rallying together to stand up for justice, to do the important work that needs to be done in our community, moments of deepest sacredness and faith that you felt in services and worship with one another. You don't need to look further than even this past year of pandemic to see the ways that you came together as a community, the ways you helped to work through an impossible challenge, a challenge that we are still wrestling with, that greater question, of how can we still be a community when we can't be physically together. You witnessed the ways that the staff adapted how they work for online services to keep our congregation's virtual doors open. You saw how you were not daunted by these challenges, but instead felt yourself called deeper to the needs of one another. It's interesting, but I wonder if the pandemic and all of the challenges that you faced in your past might have brought you back to that same threshold moment of new beginnings. That moment of first days and new starts that bring with them both excitement and bewilderment. This community has proven itself to be a community of great strength. And when I think back to one of the first moments that I felt called to be your minister, I remember witnessing the strength after meeting your ministerial search team. I remember the authenticity, the honesty, and the vulnerability that we shared together. The willingness to share your community's stories with me, who at the time was just a total stranger. The way that you shared your journey from a place of being unashamed and unafraid, a place that said, yes, this has been our past, and this is who we know ourselves to be, and where we're going. I was so moved by this strength and courage that in that moment, I knew that we had shared something special together. I knew that I saw in you the potential for a real, authentic ministry and presence in our community, as well as a determination to be the ones to go do it. I feel blessed to have been called to join you in your community's quest for spiritual companionship, deeper meaning, and living out our shared values. And while you already heard a bunch about shared ministry from last Sunday's service, it's important to highlight this central message, that ours is a shared ministry together. As your minister, I cannot do all of the hard work of community on my own. And indeed, if I try to do this all on my own, I will all but certainly fail. Likewise, I am bound to even make mistakes and mess up at times. After all, I am only human. Religiously, doing things on our own is against how we do things as Unitarian Universalists. Individualism itself is a hallmark of white supremacy culture. Our Unitarian Universalist faith calls us into a covenantal relationship with one another, just as members of your community have affirmed the covenant that we share at UUCGT. Being in covenant with one another is a practice with deep religious roots in our tradition that I could spend many sermons on, telling you about this rich heritage and history. Now, unfortunately, that will just have to wait for another sermon. But what it all boils down to is a sense of commitment. It's a commitment that we are making to one another to say that we agree to be a certain way with each other in alignment with our values. It's a commitment that says that we'll show up for one another, that we'll be there in times of joy, as well as in times of hardship. Now, contrary to what you might think, covenants themselves aren't contracts. They aren't legal documents. They are living agreements that are shaped and molded by those who affirm them. And the thing about covenant is that you can't be in a covenant of one person all on your own. Covenants form only when we are in relationship to one another. And a covenant cannot exist without others at the table to help hold us accountable and to live out its great purpose. Likewise, they even lose their power when they fail to grasp the hopes and desires of a community. The hearts and voices of a community indeed are what shape and mold a covenant. It is this point that I'm making that I am calling you to a new beginning, a new covenant that we are making together in our shared ministry in my role as your minister and pastor. UUCGT needs you in order to understand itself at this fresh new start. This community is eager to welcome you to join in, no matter who you are or where you are on life's journey, no matter if you've been here for 10 minutes or if you've been a longtime member for years, no matter if you've been here from the beginning or you've maybe fallen out of the loop of things. The good news of this new beginning together is that we are given a chance to begin again. We have found the blessing found in those fresh starts of first days. The blessing that Irish poet and priest John O'Donoghue gives us in our reading this morning when he writes, "This beginning has been quietly forming, waiting until you were ready to emerge. When your courage kindled, out you stepped onto new ground, your eyes young again with energy and dream, a path of plenitude opening before you." The poem also names the uncertainty of this threshold moment together, of wondering where this path is taking us and where the destination will end up. Though O'Donoghue makes one thing clear, that we can trust the promise of this opening and the grace of beginning. I echo O'Donoghue in giving you this blessing and beckoning to awaken your spirit to adventure, to hold nothing back, to home in a new rhythm. None of us can hope to do the work of community on our own. And in fact, it's why we gather as a community of faith. And there's a whole wide world out there that's just waiting for us. To close, I want to call you back to the opening words that I shared with you in our service, words from the Reverend Lynn Cox. "Come, you accidental pilgrims, you who find yourself on a journey of surprise and wonder. Come, you who emerge into this place as an act of liberation, you who seek a life of mindfulness and a place to test your thoughts. Come, you who bring hearts of all kinds, heavy hearts, rusty hearts, hearts broken open in revelation, and hearts full of love to share. This path will ask much from us. Let us move forward with love, knowing we are not alone." So may you feel the rich blessings of this new beginning, of that same familiar feeling of first days and new experiences. May you not be daunted by the trials ahead of us, the challenges of continuing to gather online in the pandemic, the uncertainty of how we'll reopen and where we'll end up. May you feel called to this spirit that we share, to kindle the flame of love, to awaken our heavy beating hearts, to serve one another and those in great need. May we be the people that we know ourselves to be, the people that we know we are called to become. May it be so, and amen.